obviously, I'm Kevin Fernandez. I own an insurance and financial services business, and I've been in the insurance industry for close to a decade now. I'm in my 9th year in business, and the reason why I decided to do this webinar is because the most important thing when it comes to somebody being able to create the life that they want and having financial freedom is to have the right mindset. And I have clients who are individuals, I have successful business owners, and one thing that I've seen across the board out of those that are extremely successful is that they have a similar mindset. And so one of the things that I want to share with you today is this important success principle. If you see SP number 1 here, that's success principle number 1, which is take 100% responsibility for your life and your results. I think that's truly important because if you act as if you have 100% responsibility for your life and your results, your life will turn out to be a lot better. You know, if you're going down the highway and another driver jumps in your lane or whatnot, like, you know, you're not necessarily responsible for that. But again, if you act as if you're responsible, then again, you can start really looking at what can I be doing in every moment, every day to have the best possible results that I'm going after. One of the things that have made the biggest impact in my business is taking 100% responsibility. If you're in a service-related business or any kind of business that requires sales, and I believe we're all in sales in some capacity, it is crucial that you adopt this mindset, because if you're able to take full responsibility, then now you have control, because you have chosen to believe that you create your results. And if you create your results, then again, you can change the things that you're doing in order to go after the results that you want. There's a formula that really goes with this very well, and that is E plus R equals O. Event plus response equals outcome. There are a lot of people right now that are going through the same situation. You know, we're all working from home. I'm working from home. We're all in this situation where life is not the same as it was 2 months ago. Our processes, our systems, or routines have completely shifted. And there are those people that are taking the necessary steps to make sure that they come out ahead of these things, that they come out better on the other side, while there are people that are not doing that. There are people that blame the event, right? And in this situation is the current pandemic that we're experiencing, but it could be people that blame the economy, they blame their boss, their coworker, they blame a certain situation for where they are in life. And really, any successful person that I've encountered agrees that it is not the event or the events, the situations that we experience in our lives that determine our outcome, is our response, is how we respond to the situations, right? During this pandemic right now, we have two options. We can sit back, do nothing positive, nothing constructive, and complain about where our life is and what is the outcome of that decision going to be. But if you decide, hey, I'm going to start working on a lot of those projects that before this happened, I didn't find time for, I didn't have the time. So now I have the time, right? That's a different perspective. That's a much better attitude, in my opinion. And the outcome for that is going to be significantly different coming out on the other end. If I choose to say, well, I can't go network, I can't go meet people, I'm just going to sit on the couch and watch Netflix all day. You know, if that's what somebody really wants to do and that's going to get them the outcome that they want, there's nothing wrong with that. And I don't do everything perfectly. I don't claim to do so. And I do enjoy watching Netflix every now and then. But again, it's all about, is your response going to get you the outcome that you want? Because again, that's the only point of power that you have, is your response. to the situation. One of the things about taking 100% responsibility for your life is that you have to take 100% responsibility for your thoughts, your emotions, your responses, the images that you put in your mind. Like, you have 100% control over those things, right? You can control your thoughts, your emotions. Let's say I'm doing a quick seminar or whatnot, and I have John in the room, and I say, John, out of all the years that I've been coaching and training people, you have got to be the biggest idiot I've ever encountered. How do you think John is going to feel in that situation? Is that going to increase his self-esteem? Or do you think that's going to decrease his self-esteem? How many of you think that it doesn't really matter what I say to John? What really matters is what John tells himself after I leave. Just to put that in context and perspective. Let's say I'm in this situation, I'm in a seminar, and the speaker picks on me and tells me that. And after he leaves, I'm like, dang, this guy has just known me for 30 minutes. How did he figure that out so quickly? All right, that I'm the biggest idiot, right? Then obviously, yeah, if that's what I tell myself after I hear that from someone, then that's going to affect the self-esteem. But make no mistake, I chose how to feel by what I told myself after he left, right? Because if he says the same thing, but when he moves on, I tell myself, you know, this guy just picked on me because I'm a happy person, I'm confident, I'm smiling in the front of the room, and he knows I can take that kind of tease, then it's not going to affect me. It's not going to get to me because, again, it has nothing to do with what he said to me. It has all to do with what I tell myself, right? Another example is if he picks on me again and he says, Kevin, you have green hair. Well, I don't have green hair. That's not going to affect me. That's not going to steer any kind of negative emotion in me. Why? Because I know for a fact that I'm not a jerk. I'm not the biggest idiot. Whatever that is, I believe that if somebody tells you something that triggers an emotion in you, from my experience, it is because you have some doubts within you. So while it may be painful to hear from somebody like, oh, wow, you're mean, you're a jerk, whatever steers an emotion, a negative emotion within you, rather than reacting to that person and saying, hey, listen, you're a jerk, that is not going to get you the outcome that you want, right? So I believe that instead of reacting like that, we should respond. And responding may be like, you may not even have to say anything to them out loud, but just thinking in your mind, you know what? You just really pushed a button. So thank you for showing me an area of myself that I need to do some deep work in, that I need to go internally and figure out, why did that bother me? If you tell me, you know, you're a very greedy person and that bothers me, that's because, again, for some reason, I have deep doubts within me that I might be a greedy person. But if I know for a fact that I am not a greedy person, that I'm not what you're calling me, it's not going to bother me. So again, it's all about responding instead of reacting and taking control of your emotions, because emotions, if left unchecked, can sabotage us. So they can sabotage you, they can sabotage your success, your business, your relationships. So it's truly important to focus on taking control of your emotions. If you let people have power over you by letting them bother you by saying any little thing, then you're giving away your power to them, right? So don't give your power away to others. You know, in order to be successful, you have to take full control over your life. And what that means is, again, that you decide what it is that you want, what it is that you want to think, what it is that you want to feel. You must master your mind and respond to the situations that happen in your life. Respond to every single situation that happens around you on a daily basis. You know, just because one of your employees or a coworker, there's something that you thought was negative, doesn't mean it has to get to you. You can choose to take a deep breath and give yourself a minute, go to the restroom, throw some water in your face, whatever, take a deep breath, a couple deep breaths, whatever you need. Lower your stress and then go back and respond in a more logical way. So again, sometimes all it takes is a little bit of time to give yourself to choose your response rather than reacting in the emotion of the moment, in the heat of the moment, based on whatever may have just happened. And again, it's easier said than done, because there are a lot of situations where we feel strongly about how something should have happened and it didn't happen that way. So it might be easier in those times to give the power away to others. If you have somebody in your life that, again, it could be a coworker, it could be an associate, somebody in the community that every time you encounter them, every time you see them, even if it's from a distance, even if they haven't made their way to talk to you, every time you see them, your energy changes, and your energy shifts in a negative way. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this person's here. Keep in mind, they have power over you. They're not doing anything to you, but they have power over you. And again, if you allow people to have control over your emotions, you're not going to win. You're not going to have the success that you could have if instead you take full control and responsibility for your emotions and you don't allow anybody to make you feel a way that you don't want to feel, right? There's a quote that says, nobody can make you feel inferior without your consent. So it's the same way with this. If somebody tells you something, somebody does something, you don't have to feel a certain way. You can choose to feel a different way, a positive way, a supportive way, right? So again, in order to take full responsibility for our life, what do we have to do? We have to give up all blaming or all complaining, justifying, defending, excuse making, right? I think that blaming and complaining are two of the most destructive things that anybody can do to their life, to their success. And when I say success, let me just clarify, right? Success means a lot of different things to different people. It looks different. I'm not here to tell you what success is, because my definition of success, what success looks like to me, doesn't have to be what it looks like to you, what it means to you. For some people, success is making enough money to live a modest lifestyle so that they can spend time with their families, that they can be home for dinner every night and spend every weekend with their family, going to ball games. That is a great life for some people. So if that's what you want, that's what that looks like to you, then again, just focus on that and make sure that everything that you do aligns with that vision. Don't let others pull you toward what they think success is for you. You have to make up the definition, that vision, that picture for what that looks like, and not give any energy to anything other than that. I've always heard that where attention goes, energy flows and results show. So what does that mean? If I'm complaining about something, if I'm complaining about a person, about a result, I'm giving energy to it. And the more I focus on it, for some reason, I tend to attract more of that, right? So what if instead of complaining about a situation, you shift your focus? It's not that you ignore the situation. You know that the situation is there. You know there's things that you can do. So instead of complaining about the situation or the person, shift your attention to what is the next right move? What is the next move that I can take in order to get out of the situation, in order to move toward the goals and results that I want, in order to have a better relationship, in order to have a better business, whatever that is. If you always complaining about your clients, your customers, your friends, first of all, again, you chose those people. So again, just look in the mirror. It's about taking responsibility, 100% responsibility for your life. And I know it can be hard sometimes, but really, if it's not done, what life are you going to be left with? So you have to decide what that looks like to you and really move toward what you want. Stop justifying your actions, right? We develop a certain set of habits based on different situations that we encounter to our lives, and we get so comfortable with those habits that even if we are not getting the results that we want to get, we justify, we defend those habits because it is scary and uncomfortable to change. Change is uncomfortable. If you wake up one day and you are thinking that this is not the kind of life that you wanted to be living, that you would like to have a different career, different house, a different, whatever that is, you then have to change some things, right? Because if you keep doing the same things, you're going to keep getting the same results. So if you want to make some changes in your life, that's going to require you to change. So if you don't have the courage to make those changes, then again, you're going to be left with whatever you've had already. I just want you to write down these questions, or maybe type them on your iPad or your phone, or maybe take a picture of them, whatever is easier. This is an exercise that I did a while back, and it helped with starting to make adjustments in my life and starting to move toward what I truly wanted for my life. So what I want you to do is to take the next few sentences that I'm going to give you and just complete those sentences. So the first one is, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for my life and well-being, ... So what would you do? What could you do if you were to take 5% more responsibility for your life and well-being? For example, it could be, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for my life and well-being, I would exercise 30 minutes a day, or I would only eat fast food one time per week, or I would meditate more often, I would get more sleep. Whatever it is that you feel you would need in order for your life to be more the way that you want. The next one, if I avoid responsibility for my life and well-being, what happens? Again, what would happen? What would be a negative consequence, a negative impact of you avoiding responsibility for your life and well-being? So again, the first one is, what could you do? The second one is, what would be the cost of not doing what you're supposed to do, which again is take responsibility for your life and well-being. So if I avoid responsibility for my life and well-being, I'm gonna be stuck living a life that I don't want to live. I'm gonna be stuck, and I'm not gonna have the kind of impact I want to have on the lives of others. I'm not gonna be able to provide the kind of life I want to provide for my family. I'm not gonna be able to enjoy the nicer things of life that I want to enjoy. Again, if I avoid responsibility for my life and well-being, I'm not gonna be able to build the business that I want to build. Again, you must look at what the cost is for not taking responsibility. Most often, we get moved to action by trying to avoid pain than to gain pleasure. A lot of times we tend to move faster and take more action when we're trying to avoid a certain level of pain. If your boss came to you and said, hey, we're gonna let you go if you don't hit these numbers by the end of the quarter. Someone in that situation might run faster and harder than if that boss came to them and said, hey, if you hit these numbers by the end of the quarter, I'm gonna give you a $500 bonus, or whatever that number may be, right? But that person, fortunately or unfortunately, I mean, there's no right or wrong, but that's just human nature. The psychology of humans, individuals, is that we tend to take more action and do more to avoid pain, minimize pain, than to gain pleasure. So again, take this sentence and write it down, and write down several things. Again, what will be the cost of you avoiding responsibility for your life and well-being and not doing the things that you want to do? The next thing, if I were to take 5% more responsibility for the attainment of my goals, I could say I will do 5 things a day that get me closer to my goal. I will spend an extra hour a day in action rather than watching TV. I will share my goals with family and friends and ask for accountability. I would do the one thing that I have been procrastinating on. So again, what's crucial about these statements, these sentences, is that we're talking about 5%. So again, it's small shifts, small things that you can be doing on a daily basis. We're not talking about, if I were to take 100 or 200% more responsibility for the attainment of my goals, right? Then you might be thinking like, well, then I'm gonna have to quit my job today and start my passion business tomorrow. and I'm gonna have to move across the country because the type of business that I want to build it up in California, in LA, or in New York City, whatever that is, right? If those are the things that you come up with initially, they might be too big and they might scare you and they might prevent you from taking the action that you need to take. So that's why it's important that we start with just 5% responsibility so that you can start looking at what are some small things, some small actions that I can take on a daily basis that then are going to compound over the years.